The Enduring Shadow, a comprehensive analysis of the Tokoloshe in South African folklore and society. The Tokoloshe is a potent and living figure within the cosmology of Southern Africa, an entity far more complex than a simple folktale. It exists as a dwarf-like water spirit from Nguni mythology, a malevolent agent of witchcraft summoned to enact vengeance, a pervasive scapegoat for societal ills and personal misfortune, and an evolving symbol in contemporary cultural and political discourse. The enduring power of the Tokoloshe lies in its profound adaptability, serving as a lens through which to examine deep-seated cultural anxieties, complex social dynamics, and the syncretic nature of belief in post-apartheid South Africa. This report seeks to provide a comprehensive analysis of this multifaceted entity, exploring its mythological origins, its function within the social fabric, its psychological impact, and its continued relevance in the modern world. At its core, the legend of the Tokoloshe presents a central tension, its existence as both a specific product of indigenous Southern African belief systems and a universal archetype of the malevolent trickster, a figure that embodies the chaotic and inexplicable forces that disrupt human lives. Part 1. Anatomy of a Myth: Origins and Attributes. This section establishes the foundational lore of the Tokoloshe, deconstructing its mythological identity, its varied physical descriptions, and its formidable supernatural capabilities as documented across oral traditions, academic research, and popular accounts. Section 1.1. The Genesis of the Tokoloshe, a water spirit's roots. The fundamental identity of the Tokoloshe is that of a dwarf-like water spirit, originating in Nguni mythology. This primary association with aquatic environments such as rivers, lakes, and swamps is a crucial element of its lore, establishing a deep connection to the natural and spiritual worlds. This origin links the creature to a specific domain within the traditional spiritual landscape, classifying it as a nature spirit. Some traditions place it within the Ngungunyane family of spirits, whose name means the ones who live in the water. This foundational identity as a water spirit is significant. It suggests that the Tokoloshe is not inherently an artificial creation of evil, but a pre-existing force of nature. Its later more prominent role as a witch's familiar can therefore be understood as the corruption or co-opting of this natural power. This frames the legend within a moral universe where human malice, jealousy, anger, vengeance, does not create evil ex nihilo, but rather perverts a powerful elemental force for unnatural and destructive purposes. The legend is deeply embedded in the folklore of the Nguni peoples, particularly the Zulu and Xhosa, and is also prominent within Sotho-Tswana communities. While some scholars believe the myth originated specifically within Xhosa culture, belief in the Tokoloshe is now widespread among numerous ethnic groups throughout southern Africa. This broad cultural footprint is evidenced by its myriad of names. The most common terms include Tokoloshe, Tikoloshe, and Tokolosi. The Zulu people may also refer to it as Hili, while the isiXhosa name Uhili is also used. The very existence of these specific names within a home language serves as a powerful cultural indicator that the entity is considered a real, tangible force capable of causing harm. The creature's influence extends beyond South Africa, with similar water spirits in Zimbabwe known by names such as Mwari or Chihura. Section 1.2. The creature's form, a composite portrait. While descriptions of the Tokoloshe's appearance are highly varied and often inconsistent across different communities and stories, a composite image can be constructed from a set of recurring features. The single most consistent physical characteristic is its diminutive size. It is almost universally described as being dwarf-like, goblin-like, pint-sized, or approximately hip-high to an adult. This small stature is not merely a descriptive detail but a functionally significant one, as it directly informs the most famous method of protection against it: raising one's bed on bricks. In addition to its physical appearance, the Tokoloshe is defined by its supernatural abilities. Its most renowned power is invisibility, typically achieved by drinking water or swallowing a pebble. It is also known to be a shapeshifter and a master of mental manipulation, capable of creating illusions, invading dreams, and controlling minds. Despite its small stature, it possesses superhuman strength, though it is a poor climber. Some traditions also credit it with other powers, such as controlling water, teleportation, casting curses, and draining the life force from its victims. The creature's nature is consistently described as mischievous, malevolent, and that of a trickster. Its actions range from minor pranks like souring milk to severe crimes including theft, assault, and murder. A key aspect of its predatory behavior is the sexual assault of women, linked to its phallic nature. It is said to feed on the negative energy and despair of its victims, which makes it more powerful. While overwhelmingly depicted as evil, a few accounts suggest a dual nature where it can be friendly or helpful, particularly towards children or those who show it respect. Section 1.3, The Arsenal of a Malevolent Spirit. The Tokoloshe is endowed with a formidable array of supernatural powers that make it a pervasive and terrifying threat. Its most renowned ability is achieving invisibility, which is typically accomplished by drinking water or by swallowing a stone or pebble. Some accounts suggest it wears a magical charm around its neck to become unseen. This power is central to its menace as it allows the creature to operate undetected. Consequently, its presence is often confirmed not by sight but by the evidence of its malevolent deeds such as misfortune or chaos in a household. Beyond invisibility, the Tokoloshe is a master of mental and perceptual manipulation. It is said to possess the ability to create vivid illusions and to invade and manipulate the dreams of its victims, turning sleep into a realm of terror. Furthermore, some traditions hold that it can exert control over an individual's mind, suggesting actions and directing their behavior, which accounts for its capacity to inflict deep psychological torment. Despite its small frame, the creature is credited with superhuman strength, enabling it to easily overpower adult humans. It can inflict physical harm through bites or scratches, which are believed to cause disease and infection. More elaborate powers described in certain narratives include shape-shifting into animal forms, teleportation, and the sinister ability to drain the vital essence or life force from its victims, a process that leads to debilitating illness or even death. This entire arsenal of powers, particularly invisibility and mental influence, makes the Tokoloshe the perfect vehicle for explaining events that lack a clear physical cause or rational explanation. These powers are, by their very nature, non-falsifiable. One cannot prove a Tokoloshe wasn't there. This makes it an ideal supernatural culprit for a vast range of misfortunes, including sudden illness, psychological distress, domestic strife, and financial ruin. By attributing such complex problems to an unseen, malevolent agent, the belief system provides a concrete cause for abstract suffering, transforming ambiguous anxiety into a specific fear that can, at least in theory, be confronted through culturally specific countermeasures. Finally, the Tokoloshe is consistently identified as a trickster figure, a master of mischief, with an insatiable appetite for causing chaos. Its actions exist on a broad spectrum, from mundane pranks like souring milk or stealing food, to life-altering calamities, cementing its role as an agent of disorder. Part 2. The Tokoloshe in the Social Fabric. This part analyzes the Tokoloshe's integral role within human society, focusing on its symbiotic relationship with witchcraft, its function as an agent of misfortune directed by human malice, and its critical use as a powerful social scapegoat. Section 2.1. The Witch's Familiar, Creation, and Symbiosis. The Tokoloshe is not a creature that arises from nature on its own. It is fundamentally an artifact, an entity created through magic. Its existence is inextricably linked to human will, specifically the malevolent intent of a witch or sorcerer, umthakathi or moloi, who summons or creates it to harm their enemies, settle a score, or enact vengeance. In this capacity, it functions as the witch's familiar or, as one South African described it, their sidekick, carrying out deeds the witch may be hesitant to perform directly for fear of retaliation. The reported methods for its creation are varied and uniformly gruesome, underscoring the transgressive nature of the act. A common narrative involves the reanimation of a corpse, sometimes using graveyard soil and dismembered body parts to fashion the creature. Central to this process is a horrific act of mutilation. A hot iron rod or poker is thrust through the corpse's skull to destroy the brain and is used to gouge out the eye sockets. This lobotomizing act is not merely for shock value. It serves the practical purpose of rendering the creature mindless, ensuring it cannot think for itself and will only obey the commands of its master. After this, a special magical powder is sometimes sprinkled on the body, which is said to cause it to shrink to its diminutive size. Other creation methods are also described, including the magical transformation of a domestic animal, a witch's existing familiar, or even a specially crafted doll. This dark pact often comes with a terrible price. In many versions of the legend, the person commissioning the Tokoloshe must promise the soul of a loved one in exchange for its services. This creates a Faustian bargain where the desire for revenge ultimately boomerangs, leading to personal tragedy. The Tokoloshe itself is said to choose the soul it will take, and it may collect this debt weeks, months, or even years later, ensuring that the evil unleashed eventually returns to haunt its originator. This entire creation narrative serves as a powerful metaphor for the perversion of life and the enslavement of will. It symbolizes how human malice can animate a destructive, mindless force that is ultimately uncontrollable, serving as a sophisticated moral and ethical lesson embedded within a terrifying horror story. Section 2.2. Agent of Misfortune, Harbinger of Chaos. Once unleashed, the Tokoloshe acts as a versatile agent of misfortune, its malevolence manifesting across a wide spectrum of severity. It is blamed for a vast and diverse array of problems, effectively functioning as a chaos agent responsible for disruptions in every domain of life: domestic, financial, social, physical, and psychological. At the milder end, its deeds are those of a mischievous poltergeist, including souring milk, spoiling food, or causing petty theft. However, its capacity for harm extends to far more serious calamities. It is cited as the cause of financial ruin, debt, family conflict, and divorce, making it a scapegoat for all manner of social and personal breakdown. The physical and psychological harm it inflicts is profound. It is known to cause sudden, inexplicable illnesses that leave its victims weak and disoriented. In the most extreme cases, it is a killer, capable of causing death by sucking the breath out of its victims as they sleep, or by choking them to death with its long, bony fingers. It often leaves physical evidence of its attacks, such as long, deep scratches on the bodies of its victims, particularly children. A central and deeply disturbing theme in the Tokoloshe lore is that of sexual predation. Armed with its unnaturally large penis, the creature is infamous for sexually assaulting or raping women, sometimes acting as a supernatural incubus that attacks them in their sleep. This aspect of the legend is so prominent that it has been invoked in real-world criminal defenses and even used as a folk explanation for the transmission of HIV/AIDS. Some traditions provide a metaphysical motivation for its destructive behavior. The Tokoloshe is said to survive by feeding off of the negative energy and despair of their victims. The more chaos and misery it creates, the more powerful it becomes. This concept creates a terrifying feedback loop. The creature causes misfortune, which generates the negative energy it needs to sustain itself, which in turn empowers it to cause even more misfortune. This provides a supernatural logic for the all-too-common human experience of watching a bad situation spiral into a cycle of seemingly endless suffering. Section 2.3. The Scapegoat Function, Explaining the Unexplained. The Tokoloshe serves a critical sociological function as a scapegoat, providing a tangible explanation for events that are otherwise incomprehensible, terrifying, or socially corrosive. One of the most compelling rationalist theories for the origin of the myth points directly to this explanatory power. In traditional, poorly ventilated rondavels, families would sleep on mats on the floor around a central fire for warmth. This practice could lead to a buildup of dense, toxic carbon monoxide near the ground, which would silently asphyxiate those sleeping low while sparing anyone in an elevated position. The legend of a short, malevolent creature that attacks people sleeping on the floor, and the corresponding defense of raising one's bed on bricks, functions as a perfect folkloric explanation and a life-saving public health instruction for this very real but scientifically invisible danger. Beyond explaining natural phenomena, the Tokoloshe has been repeatedly invoked as a scapegoat within the formal justice system and for personal transgressions. Its influence is so profound that it has been used as a defense or mitigating factor in numerous real-life criminal cases. In 1933, a man was arrested for the murder of his 9-year-old nephew, whom he claimed to have mistaken for a Tokoloshe. In the 1950s, the notorious serial killer Elefasi Masomi, known as the Axe Killer, claimed that a Tokoloshe perched on his shoulder had ordered him to commit his 15 murders. More recently, in the widely publicized Lauder family murders of 2008, Nicolette Lauder claimed that her boyfriend had gained immense psychological control over her after saving her from a Tokoloshe that had been sexually molesting her, leading her to participate in the murder of her parents. The legend also provides a convenient cover for socially taboo acts, allowing perpetrators to deflect blame. A chilling example emerged in the early 1990s, when guardians of physically abused children claimed that the injuries were the work of a Tokoloshe. This allowed them to seek medical attention for the children without immediately incriminating themselves, effectively using the myth to hide domestic violence. In these contexts, the Tokoloshe functions as a crucial social pressure valve. By externalizing blame for incomprehensible tragedies or horrific crimes onto a supernatural entity, individuals and communities can avoid the socially corrosive reality of internal evil. This act of scapegoating shifts the focus of communal fear and anger from a member of the community to an external monster, allowing the social fabric to remain intact, albeit under immense strain. The legend thus provides a powerful narrative framework that makes the unbearable bearable. Part 3. A cross-cultural and psychological lens. This part expands the analysis by situating the Tokoloshe within a global context of similar mythological figures and examining the profound psychological impact of this belief on individuals and communities in Southern Africa. Section 3.1. The Tokoloshe in global context. While the Tokoloshe is a unique and specific product of Southern African culture, its core characteristics and functions align remarkably with universal archetypes found in folklore worldwide. This suggests that the legend taps into fundamental patterns of human psychology and shared anxieties about the unseen, the chaotic, and the malevolent. The creature is frequently compared to figures from European folklore, often being described as similar to a goblin, a gremlin, a poltergeist, an imp-like spirit, or even an African version of the European sprite or brownie. These comparisons highlight a cross-cultural human tendency to imagine small, mischievous, and often dangerous humanoid entities that operate on the fringes of the human world. A comparative mythological analysis reveals several direct parallels. Like the Tokoloshe, European goblins represent a broad category of small, grotesque, and often malevolent spirits. This tradition, however, also includes more benevolent types like the hobgoblin, a duality that is mirrored in some Tokoloshe tales where the creature can be friendly towards children or helpful to those who treat it with respect. A striking parallel can be drawn with the Japanese kappa, a water demon known for its malevolence and for harming children, which demonstrates a cross-cultural link between water-based spirits and danger to the vulnerable. Furthermore, the Tokoloshe's signature nocturnal attacks, which involve choking, pressing down on, or suffocating a sleeper, place it firmly within a global family of sleep paralysis demons. This experience is described in cultures worldwide and attributed to entities like the European Mara, which is said to sit on a sleeper's chest, inducing terror and paralysis. The Tokoloshe also fits squarely within the global trickster archetype. Like the spider Anansi in West Africa, Reynard the Fox in Europe, or the god Loki in Norse mythology, the Tokoloshe is an ambiguous and anomalous figure that deceives, plays tricks, and inverts social norms. It embodies chaos and serves as a boundary crosser, challenging the established order, a fundamental role of trickster figures in mythologies everywhere. The local details of the Tokoloshe, its creation by a witch, its aquatic origins, its specific physical form, can be seen as the cultural skin stretched over an archetypal skeleton that is recognizable across human societies. Studying the Tokoloshe is therefore not just an examination of a regional myth, but an exploration of a specific cultural expression of a universal human impulse to give form to our deepest fears and to narrate the forces of chaos that disrupt our lives. Section 3.2. The Architecture of Fear. Psychological and Health Impacts. For a significant portion of the population in Southern Africa, the Tokoloshe is not a metaphorical or mythological figure, but a tangible and terrifying reality. Academic research conducted among Amajosa communities, for example, confirms a strong, pervasive, and deeply held belief in the creature's existence and its capacity to inflict real harm. The conviction is so profound that it was articulated with stark clarity by a traditional healer in one study: "I will not lie to you. The Tokoloshe exists." This deeply ingrained belief has tangible and serious consequences for mental health, with the creature being blamed for causing havoc and destruction, both psychologically, physically, and sexually. The constant fear and anxiety it instills can manifest as severe psychological distress, paranoia, and trauma. Experiences that Western medical paradigms would diagnose as symptoms of mental illness, such as hallucinations or delusional thinking, are often ascribed within this cultural context to the malevolent influence of the Tokoloshe. For instance, one participant described how a relative would lose her mind and become unaware of what is happening around her during a perceived encounter with the creature. This creates a complex and often fraught intersection between traditional belief systems and modern Western medicine. Individuals who hold these beliefs may fear being dismissed or labeled as superstitious by Western doctors, which can create a significant barrier to seeking or receiving effective care. This cultural disconnect underscores the critical need for the fields of psychology and medicine in South Africa to develop culturally competent frameworks that can respectfully engage with such influential supernatural beliefs. The issue is not merely about identifying a proximate cause of illness, such as a virus or a tick bite. As one source aptly puts it, the culturally relevant question is often, but who sent the tick? This reflects a search for agency, meaning, and a supernatural cause behind misfortune that purely biomedical models often fail to address. In this way, the Tokoloshe acts as a somatic bridge, converting abstract psychological or social trauma into a concrete external threat. Modern artistic interpretations, such as the 2018 film The Tokoloshe, explicitly use the monster as a metaphor for real-world trauma, particularly systemic patriarchy and the horror of sexual abuse. This suggests that the legend has long provided a vocabulary and a physical form for unspeakable experiences. Instead of articulating suffering in the language of modern psychology, for example, I am experiencing post-traumatic stress, an individual might say, I am being tormented by a Tokoloshe. This externalizes the trauma into a culturally legible entity, which provides a framework for understanding the suffering and seeking help from a recognized spiritual authority, such as a Sangoma. The Tokoloshe thus exists at the tense and dynamic intersection of cultural cosmology and modern psychology, and a nuanced understanding of its role is crucial for providing effective and respectful mental health care in Southern Africa. Part 4. The Modern and Political Tokoloshe. This final part traces the evolution of the Tokoloshe legend into the modern era, examining its contested role in political discourse, its vibrant presence in popular culture, and the enduring practices of protection that persist to this day. Section 4.1. A Spectre of History, the Tokoloshe in the Apartheid Era. During the colonial and apartheid eras, the Tokoloshe legend became a symbolic battleground where its meaning was contested and weaponized to serve political ideologies. The narrative was co-opted and interpreted through the lens of the prevailing racial tensions. In the 1950s, a period marked by the rise of organized anti-apartheid resistance, stories began to circulate of Tokoloshes disrupting white Christian church services. This narrative was not random. It mapped directly onto the political anxieties of the white minority. The image of an indigenous, dark spiritual force attacking a potent symbol of European order and religion served as a powerful metaphor for white fears of black African agency and political uprising. This appropriation of the legend served a clear ideological purpose. It framed the legitimate struggle for freedom not as a political movement but as a chaotic, demonic, and irrational threat to civilization. As analyst Cuthbert Tagwairai has argued, figures like the Tokoloshe were used in colonial narratives to portray an unforgiving, vengeful and violent Africa against the loving Christianity. This act of framing denigrated indigenous beliefs, casting them as primitive and malevolent, which in turn helped to justify the civilizing mission of colonialism and the oppressive structures of apartheid. Post-colonial legal analysis further explores this dynamic, pitting the figure of the Tokoloshe as a sprite-like figure of resistance and disturbance against the colonial legal fiction of the reasonable man. This abstract legal standard was used to systematically invalidate indigenous worldviews, casting them as retrograde and irrational, thereby justifying the law's intolerance of cultural difference. The Tokoloshe was thus transformed from a complex figure within an indigenous cosmology into a simplistic symbol of black threat, demonstrating the powerful way in which folklore can be manipulated for political ends. Section 4.2. The Tokoloshe. Reimagined, contemporary culture, and activism. In the post-apartheid era, the Tokoloshe has demonstrated remarkable cultural plasticity, becoming a ubiquitous figure in modern South African popular culture. Its presence is felt across numerous media. In music, it has been the subject of John Congos's 1970s pop hit, Tokoloshe Man, later covered by the Happy Mondays, featured prominently in the music video for D'Antwoord's song, Evil Boy, and inspired the rap track Hosh Tokoloshe by Jack Parow. In film and television, it has been a central element in critically acclaimed films like Gavin Hood's A Reasonable Man, 1999, horror movies such as The Bone Snatcher, 2003, The Tokoloshe, 2018, and Tokoloshe The Calling, and has even made appearances in international productions like the British TV show Mad Dogs. The creature is also a recurring subject in literature and is a source of running gags in the popular daily comic strip, Madam and Eve. This cultural presence has undergone a modern bifurcation. On one hand, the belief is perpetuated and amplified in a literal sense by tabloid media. The South African newspaper Daily Sun is famous for its sensationalist reporting on alleged Tokoloshe encounters, with headlines about figures like the twerking Tokoloshe. The paper's engagement with the topic is so extensive that it reportedly employs its own personal sangoma to handle the volume of Tokoloshe-related stories and queries from the public. This stream of media caters to and reinforces a grassroots, literal belief in the creature as a newsworthy threat. On the other hand, the Tokoloshe has been reappropriated as a sophisticated and often subversive symbol in art and political activism. The Tokoloshe Stencil Collective, for example, uses graffiti images of the Tokoloshe to terrorize the powers that be, and to protest contemporary injustices such as the Marikana massacre and the persistent socio-economic segregation in cities like Cape Town. In this context, the creature's traditionally mischievous and disruptive nature is purposefully reimagined as a force for good, fighting on the side of the oppressed. This dual existence, as a source of genuine fear in one context and a symbol of political resistance in another, demonstrates that the legend is not being rationalized away by modernity. Instead, its meaning is actively being negotiated, diversified, and redeployed across different strata of society, proving its status as a truly living and evolving piece of cultural heritage. Section 4.3, Warding Off Evil, a Compendium of Protections. The enduring belief in the Tokoloshe is matched by a rich and varied portfolio of protective measures, which reveal a pragmatic and syncretic approach to spiritual security. These methods blend practical folk logic, traditional spiritual technologies, and adopted religious practices. The most iconic and widely recognized defense is the simple act of raising one's bed off the floor by placing bricks, wooden blocks, or even paint tins under each leg. This is a direct and logical response to the creature's defining physical limitations, its short stature, and its inability to climb well. For more serious or persistent problems, spiritual intervention is deemed necessary. This involves consulting traditional healers known as sangomas or naangas, who are believed to possess the power to banish the creature. They may perform rituals of exorcism and purification, often employing traditional medicines or muti to cleanse a person or a home of the Tokoloshe's influence. In a clear example of religious syncretism, Christian pastors with an apostolic calling are also frequently called upon to perform blessings and banishments, demonstrating how different belief systems can be integrated to address a common spiritual threat. Beyond these primary methods, a variety of other folk remedies are practiced. These include sprinkling salt around the home as a deterrent, as the creature is said to dislike it, wearing protective charms or talismans, planting lavender or burying iron around the perimeter of a house, and simply showing respect for the legend itself, as it is believed that acknowledging its power can help keep it at bay. Another approach focuses on the creature's metaphysical nature, suggesting that one can ward it off by creating a positive atmosphere with supportive and caring people, thereby depriving the Tokoloshe of the negative energy on which it feeds. This diverse and tiered system of defense, ranging from the everyday practicality of raising a bed to the serious spiritual intervention of a sangoma, showcases a holistic worldview where the physical and metaphysical are deeply intertwined, and where a physical action can have a profound spiritual effect. Conclusion. The Tokoloshe of Southern African folklore is profoundly more than a simple goblin or bogeyman. As this analysis has demonstrated, it is a dynamic, multifaceted, and enduring cultural entity that has served and continues to serve a vast range of functions. It is an explanatory framework for mysterious natural phenomena like carbon monoxide poisoning, a vessel for moral instruction, warning against the corrosive power of jealousy and vengeance, a crucial social scapegoat for managing and externalizing personal and communal trauma, a contested symbolic battleground for political ideologies during and after apartheid, and a vibrant, evolving figure in contemporary art, media, and activism. The persistence and adaptability of the Tokoloshe legend are a powerful testament to the ability of folklore to encapsulate, negotiate, and give tangible form to the deepest anxieties and most complex social dynamics of a society. Its journey from a primordial water spirit to a witch's familiar, from a nocturnal predator to a political symbol, reveals a narrative that is constantly being reinterpreted to meet the changing needs of the communities that believe in it. The creature's dual existence today, as both a literal threat in tabloid headlines and a sophisticated metaphor in protest art, highlights the remarkable capacity of this legend to simultaneously inhabit multiple realms of meaning and to serve diverse and sometimes contradictory functions within the same society.